Hi, in today's video I'm going to be talking about changing the Emacs vterm prompt string. So if I show you this picture here, this is a photo of Emacs with the tab bar enabled, and you can see the issue here is that the vterm prompt string is named asterix vterminal, angle brackets 1 asterix, and I'll show you the reason why that's an issue. So what I'm going to do is switch across here to Emacs, and I have the tab bar enabled here. And let me just switch. So what the issue is in the tab bar, you've got a function which is bound to Control-X-T that allows you to switch to the buffer in another tab by typing its name. So if I press Control-X-T return, it's giving me a list of buffers here, and you can see the default it's going to switch to is Scratch. Now the issue is with these names that have asterixes in, you can't switch to the buffer by typing Scratch. See, there's no match. You have to type asterix, which is Shift 8 and then Scratch, and then you can switch to it. And that's the same issue with the vterm prompt, is that because it's if I switch back here, as you can see, it's asterix vterminal 1 asterisk. So it makes it inconvenient to switch to the tab by name. So what I'm going to do is actually show you how I fixed this. So if I open a new tab and now switch to vterminal, what you'll see is vterm is now being renamed so that it just shows vterm and the current working directory. So if I change directory here, you'll see it now says vterm ~desktop. If I run an application, what you'll see is it's now listed as vterm newsboat and down here as well. So the reason why that's important is it makes it much easier to switch buffers. So if I'm in another buffer now, I can press Control-X-T, press return, and I can type vterm and press tab, and it's going to switch to that buffer. I can also create a new buffer name, a new buffer, and what I should have now is the ability to switch to either of those terminals. So Control-X-T, so I can either type vterm like that or vterm desktop to switch there. So it's much more convenient. So what I'm going to do is actually show you how to set that up. So there's two things we need to actually set up. Firstly, there's the emacs init.el, and then there's a bit of code in our zshrc file. So we'll first have a look at the init.el. And where the hell did I put it? Yeah, here. Okay. This block here, setq vterm-buffer-name-string vterm %s. What this %s is going to do is it's going to take the window name that's generated by the shell and use that as the name. So you can see here vterm and then the current directory. So that's the first thing we need to do, is add this bit of code to our emacs init.el. So that's the first step, and then the next step is in our zshrc file. I'll come up here. What we got here is this block here. Set terminal window title to program name. You can see case termin, xterm, rxvt, Unicode, and I think that vterm uses the xterm 256 term info, so this affects vterm. So you can see basically what we've got here is this block of code, function, pre-command and pre-exec, and it's this one here. This block of code is what generates the terminal window title set to the program name. So those are the two things we need to do. Our zshrc like this, and our emacs init.el with the set vterm-buffer-name-string vterm. Once we've done those two things, what you'll have is a setup like this where it will say, you can see I've actually got this triplicated, as it were. It's actually in the tab bar, it's in my prompt, and it's down here. And that's not really an issue because I want it in my prompt, obviously, because I want to see which directory we're in. And it's also handy because you can see now, as you're switching tabs, what the terminal is. So instead of it just saying vterm something or other, 1, it's much more descriptive. You can manually rename vterm buffer strings, but we want to do it automatically. So every time I now create a new thing, you can see if I run newsboat here, it's going to say vterm newsboat. So you could remove the vterm prefix, I guess, but the problem is, let me just. So the reason why I haven't removed the vterm prefix to have it just say sort of desktop is because then you may have a directory open in diode to the same location as the terminal, and it would be confusing as to which was which, basically. So you probably still want to have the prefix there, but it basically makes it a lot easier to switch so again, if I want to switch to scratch, I have to type asterix scratch. But now switching to the vterm terminal is much easier. On keyboard shortcut, vterm tab. So it's much easier, and it also looks a lot nicer than the sort of default here. You can see, we can zoom that in a bit. Let me just zoom that back up. So you can see that's the default asterisk vterminal 1, and that's not terribly descriptive. And I said you can rename these manually, but we want to do it automatically. You don't have to keep doing that. So this is much more useful because it's much more descriptive. So let me just close that buffer. So again, let me open these up in two separate things. So here's the emacs.ini.el. Set vterm-buffer-name-string vterm%s, and then in our zshrc file, we've got this block here, setting the terminal window title to program name. So those are the only two things you need to do. Add that to your emacs init.el, to your zshrc. You may need to source your zshrc, but then once you've done all that, basically vterm will then have a proper title string. So the other thing I want to do is actually show you how this looks in GNOME Terminal. So if I open GNOME Terminal here, what you'll see is the window title is just set to the string of the current directory, desktop. If I run an application, you see the name changes to the name of the application there. So that's how it looks in GNOME Terminal, and this is how it looks in vterm in Emacs, and it's just more useful and more descriptive than the standard way. It only takes a little bit of code, so it just makes it much easier to switch between terminals. There we go, vterm desktop, instead of having to type we've got mini buffer. Then we've got mini buffer there, but if I open up what are you doing, you bastard? Okay, hang on. There we go. If I open the scratch buffer there, so you can click these with the mouse as well. But if I want to switch to the scratch, it's a pain to actually type in, Shift 8 and then scratch. and that's the issue with the default vterminal term name being asterix vterminal. It just makes it more difficult to actually switch to, whereas if you rename it, it's much easier. That's a little quick tip on changing the emacs vterm prompt buffer name, and also, as you can see here, it's in the mini buffer here. It makes it much more obvious. So let me open up another terminal and put that to let's see, put that to downloads. So now in the buffer list here, you can see we've got vterm downloads and vterm desktop. So that's much easier to see what it is rather than just a generic name of vterminal 1 or whatever. So really easy to set up, and it just makes using vterminal a bit nicer. And in conjunction with the tab bar mode and do mode line, it just gives you a bit more information about what's running in the tab. So it just makes it more obvious. You can see our vterm news boat, or let's have another one. A vterm news boat, vterm ncmpc, and you'll see it's also listed down here as well. I mean, the only thing is obviously you're then having it sort of here, and here, but that's how you can set the vterminal buffer string name in Emacs, just by changing your init.el and your zshrc. So that's all for now, and I'll put links to this under the video.